Hi, friends. Today, we're going to be talking about the difference between ghosts and spirits. You may have heard someone saying that there is a difference between ghosts and spirits, and there really is. But today, I want to talk to you about, I want to talk about it at a whole new level. So I want to cover that, but I also want to talk about it in a totally different perspective, a new approach between these two terms. Lots of people have covered this topic saying that a ghost is a psychotic or stuck in between, not even human, not crossed over, and spirits are individuals that have crossed over in a normal fashion. Some people explain ghost as not even being human, but being almost like an energy imprint that it's on repeat, like on a loop, like an old movie that you can watch, but not quite interact with. And spirit is an actual soul that you can interact and have a conversation with. There is a lot of differences between the two, but in general, the term ghost leans towards the scary, haunting, horrifying, or horror movie type topic. And spirit lends itself towards more of a higher connection that we all have. And this is a passion of mine because I've been doing spiritual clearings for years now. And I've been in numerous homes, numerous buildings where individuals that have attachments and the sort of things that pop culture will call a haunting. And I only see two different things. I either see an individual who has passed and gets stuck in their transition to the other side, or I see an energy imprint. Something that is like a memory that has been left there, an energy of a memory, an energy of an experience that has been left in a certain location. Sometimes most of the time is something that has happened that has been very like violent or traumatic that has left sometimes not, that has left that energy imprint in that location. So while we could identify that as a ghost and the being crossed over as a spirit, I prefer to identify stuck in a place as exactly that, energy, not necessarily a ghost. The ghost concept takes stock energy and everything that goes bump into the night and is ooh scary, right? And turns it into this being that's a ghost. I prefer to say that this is stock energy and energy imprint or old energy from a situation that has happened but doesn't have that conscious direction and communication. That's an energy imprint. And when it comes to a being that it's crossing over and transitioning, even if they haven't crossed over, I still prefer the term spirit over ghost. Because in that situation, when you identify someone, and this is a very important point here, someone, I mean the actual human being who has passed and now it's in their transition, we identify them not as crossed over yet, so therefore a ghost. We are leaning towards the scary, and that limits us in so many ways. In pop culture, we have coined the word ghost, and to no one's fault because there's no one to blame here. It's just how pop culture has transformed this topic. When we think about a ghost, we think about a fearful thing, something scary. And we also, and this is important, the term ghost dehumanizes the individuals in the transition process. Okay. When we look at an individual who's crossing over over, remember that this is an actual person who has died and is going through their transition process. And we say that's a ghost, we don't think of a person, we think spooky, we think scary, we think haunting. So I tend to say spirit more than ghost because this dehumanizes the person. And we're going to be talking about the good and the bad in a minute. But for me, there is no difference between a ghost and a spirit. The only difference is the perception that people have of the terms. Okay, so I remove the term ghost altogether. It's either old energy or energy imprint, or it's a spirit. End of story. Everyone that passes and crosses over goes through their transition and take away the judgment, good or bad, harmful or not harmful, easy transition, stuck transition. They are all spirits. Because when you hear someone say, I communicated with a spirit, you instantly think a person, right? You instantly go, oh, who was it? Was it male, female, old, young, etc.? But when you hear the same person say, oh, I communicated with a ghost, it's scary, right? And it's dehumanizing. It's just a term that got tangled up in haunted movies. When you go to a haunted house, you don't go to see spirits, you go to see ghosts, you go to get scared. But they're people, but they are people too, and we can't lose track of that. All right. And why? Because when someone experiences something from the paranormal in their home, of course, it's very frightening for them. And why is that? Because the first term that pops into your head is hunting, and the second term is ghost, or vice versa, right? But for many, the experience who experience something paranormal, a sound or movement, a shadow, or something like this, we tend to go to fear immediately. And that's another piece of pop culture. I think horror movies are fun, or they are supposed to be fun. I don't really go to a lot of them. I don't really go to them at all. I'll tell you right now, I'm not a huge fan, but I love like the spookiness of Halloween. I love the decorations, and I love American Horror Story. There's a lot of things out there that are very entertaining, but we have to keep them in that box of entertainment. It's just entertainment. When we're talking about the reality of what happens with death, I prefer to eliminate the topic of ghost and stick with spirit. Now, the fear that people experience, which is very natural, something that happens that you can't see, where it's coming from. You hear a bump in the night, you hear somebody going up the stairs, and there's no one there. We tend to go to fear. And many times, the individual that's going up the steps can very easily be a loved one from the other side, either stuck or crossed over, both of which can create this phenomenon. So I really want to open up this dialogue to say, hey, when something happens, even though you know at first you might have a moment of fear, I love to invite people to stop for a second, okay? And say, okay, there's a possibility that this could also be a positive thing and not a negative experience. Because it might be your aunt, right? Or your grandmother. It might be somebody you know on the other side trying to get your attention to give you a loving message. Now, I'm not saying to be ignorant, right? And anything you hear, you just go, oh, okay, well, that must be positive. So I'm going to assume it's positive. No, this is why I empathize to do GCP every single day. Okay, if you don't know what GCP is, I have a free video in the school that explains all about it. I'll give you a link, so just let me know if you want it, and you got it. But when it comes to these moments, I invite people to stop for a second and stay open to it being either negative or positive, because it can be either one. Let's bring that positive option in there and then reset. Just wipe the slate clean for just 1 second. And then feel what your gut is telling you. Because when we stop and take just a breath and then reset and say, okay, this just happened in my home. Yes, I was scared first, but I'm going to stop and I'm going to just feel what I feel. Okay. You might feel overwhelming love. You might. And then you might realize, oh, this is a positive situation. Because again, not every time a light turns on or off, and you hear somebody walking down the hallway, and there's no one there. Not every time this happens, it's gonna be negative. More often than not, it's a positive experience of your ancestors or your loved ones coming through from the other side to give you a message. Now, there is the occasion where it is a negative spirit when you stop and you reset and you give yourself a moment to kind of feel what your gut feels, and you might feel something negative. In that case, take care of it. Take care of it. If you can't take care of it yourself, you call someone that can. Also, this is where I want to get into the topic of the good and the bad. And I really don't like to differentiate between good spirits and bad spirits, okay? As especially bad spirits as ghosts. I don't do that because in the end, every single individual that lives here on earth and passes and crosses back over is someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's friend, someone's parents. You know what I'm saying? Everyone is love, right? And everyone deserves to go home. And I don't subscribe to the concept of a location considered hellish. I don't subscribe to that. It doesn't make any logical sense to me in the whole scheme of things, of everything that I have experienced. The transition process is when people face everything that happened and that they did here on earth. Is where they really face all the things that they've done, and then review. That review can be a very difficult process for somebody who was particularly harmful in their lives. So crossing over for most is a very easy transition. It's an incredible feeling of love, and an instant understanding and reconnection, and it's automatic. Like just people, boom, you go right over and cross over to the other side. But there are going to be individuals who have caused great damage here on earth to other people and things. And they cross over and then go in their transition process, and it's very hard. Okay. It can be very difficult, a very difficult process for spirits, because they really have to confront what they experience in life, and they confront it from everybody's perspective. So if I was mean to you, I'm going to relieve it as me, and I'm going to relieve it as you, and I'm going to relieve it not only as you, but at everybody in your in your energy field who that event that I caused affected you and them. So imagine, people that have been very harmful. We can think of people in history that have been incredibly harmful to hundreds of thousands of people, how long that process is going to be, and how difficult that is going to be. So sometimes individuals can become stuck in the in-between on purpose, resisting the process and refusing to complete it. So if they're afraid of that, they can just stop, and they can, they still have free will. So they're going to stand back a little bit and not want to go through that review process because they don't want to face all of that. When that happens, they may turn their attention back to the living in order to express their frustration. This is where negative spirits come in. And I do not identify them as ghosts, because ghosts are people too, right? Instead, I refer to them as negative spirits. Actually, I tried to use like low vibrational spirits or high vibrational spirits, right? That return because they're past, but they don't want to go through the review period, so they turn into the living and cause havoc and harm in the material world as spirits. Now, what do you do when this happens? If you suddenly sense that something isn't right, if you feel an energy in your home or place of business or wherever you are that doesn't sit well with you, trust your gut, trust your intuition. That's the first step. Trust what you're feeling, okay? Your intuition tells you that it's not a good feeling. Immediately put up protective walls, okay? Envision a bubble around yourself, your family, your home, wherever you are, and let that bubble push the spirit out, okay? Claim your space. So you put a bubble and you see that bubble expanding, and you push any energy, any negative energy or low vibrating energy that's in your space, you push it out, right? Here's what I need you to understand, and this is incredibly important, okay? And this is going to help a lot. When you are in the material world, like you and I, 3D, you are always, always stronger than a spirit that is not part of the material world. They have their realm. This is ours. This realm belongs to us. Okay? This is our space. Claim it. All right? You are part of the material plane. They are not. That means what you demand will be 100%. If a spirit enters your space and you sense it is negative, reset yourself, listen to your God, and with authority, command out. Negative spirit, out. Out of my house, out of my space. If it will leave you, because you have command over the shared reality. You have command over the material world. This is your realm. But you have to believe it. If you're wishy-washy, like, please leave me alone. You're not commanding, you're not in authority. Okay? You have to believe it. Pop culture and movies might tell you otherwise, right? They show spirits that won't leave, hauntings that persist, and entities that refuse to be banished. Because if the main character says, leave me alone, and the spirit leaves, that's not a very interesting movie, right? You don't want to see that. You want to be scared. I don't know why people want to be scared. I don't like that. I digress. while there are rare cases where people encounter particularly intense negative spirits, those situations are very uncommon. Okay, very, very uncommon. Maybe 0.5%. So half of a percentage of cases. In most situations, when you say out, they're out. Now, if I was going to take a survey of the 1,100, 1,200 people that are in this channel, that percentage is going to be higher, hands down. But we are not the regular population. We are here because we're interested in this. We're here because we're spiritualists, because we are seers, because we're intuitives. So we're not the regular population. Okay. Now, if we do a survey in the entire population, it's going to be, of the cases that we see, it's going to be about 0.5, right? So you first, your first step is to imagine a protective bubble, right? Around yourself, your family, even your pets. Then make the command, you out. Or even better, you can assist the spirit in crossing over. If you feel comfortable doing that, please do so. Please do so. Okay. If you're not comfortable, find someone that can. Okay. And that brings me back as to why I don't use the term ghost. Even if a spirit is causing harm, it's still a person, it's still a soul. What are we striving for anyhow? Unconditional love, right? You don't have to forgive. You don't have to accept or excuse them. But at the end of the day, they are struggling, okay? Just like a child throwing a tantrum, sometimes what they need is guidance, not rejection, right? So let's recap. If you experience something, lights flickering, music turning on, unexplained noises, and you feel a presence, I encourage you to set aside the fear-based term ghost, pause, reset, and tune into your intuition. Ask yourself, does this spirit have positive intentions or negative intentions? If it feels negative, protect yourself, protect your space, and make the command to remove it. Then, if possible, find someone to help the spirit move on. If it feels warm and loving, it could be a loved one or a guide trying to connect with you. And that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. You can use your intuitive tools to communicate or simply acknowledge their presence with gratitude. In the end, it's all about love. It is. Every ghost is technically a spirit. So let's go for the let's go off the fear-driven term. Okay, ghosts are people too. If you want to learn more, I have a mediumship class at the School of Spirits. This class is fun, informative, and it will give you a real look at what this work is like and the techniques that are going to turn you into an incredible medium. So it is the most in-depth mediumship class that I've ever seen out there. It's also internationally recognized. So if you're interested in the mediumship class or any other class at the school, let me know. I'll set you right away. I'll set you right away. Okay, friends? I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions and want me to expand on any part of this topic. Also, let me know if there's something specific that you want me to cover in another live, something that you have questions about or want to learn more off. Remember that I will upload this video very soon in the group, but you can also find it. It's going to be available in my YouTube and TikTok accounts, depending on the length of the video. With that, I hope to see you next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time for another live. Bye.